Hi, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to do a series on studying abroad. So let me start with my own story. So as I've mentioned a few times on the channel, I came to Switzerland in 2003 as a student. And it was not by choice. I absolutely love it. I absolutely adore the experience that I had, but to be honest, it was not my choice. I came to study hotel management. It is not something that I had ever thought about. However, I wanted to go outside Kenya, and so I chose the course that was guaranteed to get me a visa. Right, as simple as that. And at that time, it was actually, well, it's still quite, if you have the proof of funds, it's actually quite easy to get a Swiss student visa. Well, of course, they know that it comes with strings attached, which is part of the reason why it's that easy to get. So, some of the things that I kind of wish I had known, which I would have actually done if I was that interested in staying in Switzerland to begin with. Because what happened was I came here, I chose a college which had the option of finishing your studies in either Australia or the US. And for me, I wanted to go to Australia after that. So I was coming here for the 6 months, do the 6 months school, do the 6 months internship, and then for my second year, third year, and whatever, I go and do it in Australia. That was my plan. So a few things that I wish I would have learned, that I wish I would have known, which I kind of think that is important to know is one, you always hear about how students in the US go to the US. I don't know how true this is because I've talked to quite a few friends and they've told me that that is very, very hard. But you hear about how people go to the States and they say that their parents only paid the first semester school fees. After that, they were able to actually work and pay their own fees and make that a lifestyle. And yeah, that's not possible here. I do not know anybody who has come as a student and after one semester has been able to pay for their schooling and survive. I just don't. I know of quite a number of people who came after finishing school. They were able to pay for what is it called, for language school. So they paid their French classes and worked at the same time. But that is the only scenario where it is French courses and working. But I don't know anybody who's actually done a course like business administration and working to pay for that course. Almost everybody I know, when they were students, they were working because it's just, well, otherwise you'll be really bored. Everybody else has something they're doing on the side. So most people do have part-time jobs, which is not the case for hotel school students because hotel school students live in the school. It's mostly boarding school, so they're living in the school, so you do not even have that option of a second job or something like that unless you're working at the school. So that idea of going there, getting a job, working, yeah, not happening. Second thing, I wish I would have known about the language diversity in Switzerland. The funny thing is, when I was applying for the course, I had done a few French courses after after school. I think I went to Alliance Française for like 1 month and stuff like that. Anyway, but when I was applying for the for the course. Our school had a branch in Bouvray and another branch in Brig. So both are in the Canton Valais. Canton Valais is mostly, well, it's French and German speaking. Parts of it are German speaking, parts of it are French speaking. Now, almost all the information that I was reading, despite the fact that I was going to go to Le Bouvray, I wasn't that advanced in Google search, and there was no Wikipedia back then. So almost all the information that I was getting was about the school Brig. And the problem with Brig, it's on the German side and Bouvray is on the French side. I don't know why, but and another thing was I could not decide whether I wanted to come through Zurich or through Geneva. So most of my instincts were to come through Zurich. And then last minute, the ticket to Geneva was cheaper, so I ended up coming through Geneva. Anyway, so all the information that I was getting was German. I started learning at least how to ask for directions in German, you know, things like that. Yeah, so it was interesting. I was talking to friends and finding out how do you say in German, how do you do this in German. Okay, I took the flight. I came with Brussels Airlines. I took the flight, went to Brussels, arrived at Brussels. Bonjour. I'm like, okay, but Switzerland is German, right? So I arrived in Geneva yet again. Bonjour. I'm like, what happened? I was so ready with my Guten Morgen. And then, well, here I am with my, so that was a scary thing. Anyway, I took the train and, well, the school organized it. Back then, they sent you, with your admission letter, they sent you a card, a phone card. So when you arrived at the train station, you would call and somebody from the school would come and pick you up from the train station. So then, I went to school and it was nice. Okay, so the language would have been a nice thing to know. Then I think this is easier now than it was back then, but actually that's not true. I think it's supposed to be easier now, but it's not as easy as it used to be. One thing that I liked was how the Kenyans in the school, like, you know, who is the Kenyan coming? Are there Kenyans coming? And, you know, so I will always be grateful to my friend Faith, because she was in a room and she had to pick 2 roommates and she chose 2 Kenyans. So she chose me and somebody else. Her name is, so I won't say her name, but anyway. So she chose the 2 of us and I was just grateful that it was not such a transition, because I could come into the room and speak Swa, and, you know, it was just really, really great. Some of the other Kenyans came and they were in roommates with, you know, people who are from different places. So that was a real being thrown in the deep end, because you can imagine you've come from Kenya, you never lived outside your mother's house, and then you're coming here and all of a sudden you're in a room, because some rooms had 2 people, some rooms had 3 people. And so you can imagine if you're in a room with 3 and you have 1 Caucasian, 1 Asian and an African, and you're like, wow, you know, it's such a culture clash. And but then the advantage is it kind of teaches you how to adapt faster and easier, and it forces you to make friends. Most of my friends actually did end up being non-Africans, most of my close friends. Not by choice, actually. It just happened that way. Of course, my BFF is an African, but not from Kenya. But but it just, I think it opened up my head. I think living in close quarters with people from all over really does make you see that the small differences that we see in each other are just ridiculous. Anyway, So other than that, the other thing that I wish somebody would have told me, and this is purely on a need to grow up level, is when you leave Kenya, even if you're just living for a year and you're 21 years old, the boyfriend, forget about him. He's not waiting for you. I think I spent so much of my pocket money. I actually ran up quite a huge phone bill because we still had landlines back then. And I ran up quite a huge phone bill calling this fool who probably had another girlfriend by the time I was at the airport. I don't know what my plan was. To be honest, I genuinely don't know what my plan was. Was I planning that eventually I will go back to Kenya and pick up from where we left? And what was I thinking? Anyway, yeah, well, it's a good thing. After 6 months, I came for my internship in Geneva and I met, yeah, an amazing guy who still remains an amazing guy. And within a few weeks, I had totally forgotten about this guy who I had spent so much time wasting, and we are not even in contact anymore. I don't even know if he exists. I don't even know what happened to him. But at that time, my life began and ended with him, which was ridiculous. The other thing that I wish I would have known, which I highly recommend for many people, is learning to having plan B. So when I came to Geneva, I did come and a few things happened, and after a while I kind of needed to leave the city for personal reasons. I just needed a restart. I needed to press the restart button, and it was very hard for me. It was emotional. There were so many things going on at the same time, and I don't have family here, so it was just, I needed that. I needed to start, and now going to Australia was out of the question, partly because I still wanted to be in Geneva. I just needed to be away for a short time. And when this happened, I chose to go to a different canton and work as an au pair for a year. It was a bit like 9 months, but yeah. And that was the best decision I ever made. I have a video about it, and it was great to be able to go and do that. And when I was there, I decided that, okay, I'm going to go and do an associate degree in Belgium. It's going to take a year, and within that, then after that, I can come back to Geneva. And that's what happened. I went to Belgium, then came back. I feel like sometimes people find themselves in situations where you have come, you have studied, you've done everything you're supposed to do, and then something happens, and sometimes the things that happen are beyond our control. If, for example, it can be something as harmless as you've just lost hope in stuff. And at that time, I didn't know this, but I'm very, very emotionally fragile. Like when things happen, I didn't know this, and it's good that now I know. But what I didn't know was that I am somebody who, when things happen, I need to really work through them. I can't just say, okay, fine, that's life, and move on. I have to actually work through things. And so for a very long time, I had been running away from stuff. And if I would have had options to work through these things, it would have been so much easier for me. I've always known that I was a bit clingy, but I didn't know that there were reasons for it. Okay, so now we are all fine, we are all good. The PCOS is under control, the emotions and the hormones are under control, and well, yeah, so everything is fine. And yeah, so I think the plan B helps. I know quite a few people who, when things got really bad, they just decided, okay, you know what, I'm going to take a break from school for 1 year, go back to Kenya, stay 1 year, then come back and continue. And quite a few of them did that. They went back to Kenya, did an internship for a year, at a hotel, then came back and moved on, or they left the country, went back to somewhere else, then came back for a year. So many people just did different things that they wanted to do. One thing that I noticed a lot of the people in hotel schools do is, I don't know if that's still happening now with COVID, but there used to be these internships at the US, which were 18 months management internships. So many people used to go, and they used to stay for the 18 months, then come back for their bachelor's, for their master's or something like that. And I think that used to give them a good level of space to think and to decide. What you need to realize is most of these people, when we're doing this hotel management, I think I was one of the oldest in my class. Well, there were a few who were older than me, but I mean, the average age for hotel management students is 19 years. So you have people who are 18, 19, a few 20, and then now, so at 21, 22, you are a bit on the older side. And of course, we had 25-year-olds. We had I think one or two who were in their mid-20s. We had, in the early 30s. So it's really can go up, but the truth is, most were very young, and when you're that young, many times it's not that you don't know yourself, right? And you need to go through periods of understanding yourself. Maybe this is the first time you're out of your parents' house, and you're learning things. So I would say, for parents, don't judge your children so much. Don't think that their life is messed up because they cannot decide. But yeah, give them time, they will come around. So this video has ended up being longer than I expected it to be longer, because I kept running out of words. So I've not said much, but I have rambled on quite a bit. So I hope to see you for the next one.